Chapter 1. The day the algorithm decided I was a threat. My Korean channel did not die. It was executed. No trial, no warning, no polite email pretending to care. One moment it existed, the next it was digital vapor. Somewhere in the server basement, an algorithm cleared its throat and decided I had developed opinions at an unsafe velocity. People love to say, "You must have violated something." That sentence is the modern version of, "She must have been asking for it." Comforting, lazy, deeply obedient. Platforms never need to explain themselves when users do the explaining for them. Free labor, courtesy of fear. Here is the fun part. The content did not suddenly become radical yesterday. The tone did not change. The topics were not new. What changed was reach. Engagement crept up. Comments multiplied. The channel began to look less like noise and more like a gathering. That is when the tolerance expired. Platforms do not fear bad content, they fear effective content. Korean YouTube has a special allergy. Not to misinformation, not to exploitation, not to scams with perfect lighting and influencer smiles. The allergy is to narratives that do not stay in their assigned box. You can scream as long as you scream in the approved direction. You can be angry if your anger flatters the system. Step outside that choreography and suddenly you are harmful. The deletion itself was almost elegant. No drama, no warning strikes stacked like parking tickets. Just gone. This is not moderation. This is crop rotation. Clear the field before something inconvenient grows roots. And let us not pretend this is about protecting viewers. Viewers were already watching. That is the problem. Attention is currency. Independent attention is a threat. A channel that trains people to connect dots becomes expensive to keep alive. So here we are, an execution presented as housekeeping, silence sold as safety. If this sounds exaggerated, good. Exaggeration is the only language left when reality has stopped blushing. Before this story continues, do the boring but necessary rituals, subscribe, hit like. Yes, it matters. Algorithms respect momentum, not truth. If you buy the products linked below, you are not shopping. You are funding continued disobedience. This channel survives on viewers who understand that attention is not passive, it is a weapon. Chapter 1 ends here. The machine has shown its hand. The rest of the story explains why. Chapter 2. Why warnings are for others, not for you. People keep asking why there was no warning, no yellow card, no gentle nudge saying, "Please adjust your tone." That question assumes the system sees creators as participants. It does not. It sees categories. Some categories get warnings, others get erasure. Warnings are for channels that are useful, channels that can be corrected, redirected, softened, monetized longer. If you get a warning, congratulations. You are considered salvageable. If you get nothing, it means the decision was already made. Cleanup, not correction. Think about who gets endless chances. Reaction channels screaming the same safe outrage. Scam adjacent finance bros selling dreams with affiliate links. Soft propaganda dressed as lifestyle advice. They get strikes, appeals, second chances because they keep people inside the system, clicking, scrolling, buying, staying calm enough to function. Then there are channels that make viewers uncomfortable in a different way, not angry, but awake. Channels that cause people to say, "Wait, that pattern looks familiar." Those do not get warnings because warnings invite adaptation. Adaptation keeps the threat alive. The Korean language space is especially sensitive to this. It runs on speed, conformity, and tone discipline. Speak too fast, they call you suspicious. Speak too clearly, they call you dangerous. Speak calmly about structural problems, they call you toxic. The unspoken rule is simple. Critique is allowed only if it leads nowhere. So the algorithm does not ask whether you broke a rule. It asks whether you broke a rhythm. Did you disrupt the expected emotional pacing? Did your content make viewers linger instead of binge? Did comments start sounding less like emojis and more like conversations? That is when the lights go out. And here's the part nobody likes admitting. This was not personal. That would require intention. This was procedural. A system optimized for maximum compliance will eventually delete anything that trains pattern recognition. Not because it is evil, because it is efficient. The cruelty is that it feels personal. Years of work vanish without explanation. Appeals disappear into forms written by machines for machines. Silence becomes policy. Users internalize the blame because blaming yourself is still a form of control. If you are watching this, understand the real warning was never sent to the creator. It was sent to the audience. Do not gather here again. That is why subscribing matters, liking matters, sharing matters. These are not vanity metrics. They are survival signals. If you buy the products linked below, you are not supporting a brand. You are financing continuity in an environment designed to interrupt it. Chapter 2 is done. The next chapter explains why English survived when Korean didn't, and what that says about visibility, language, and power. Chapter 3, Why English Lives. While Korean gets buried, here is the part that makes people uncomfortable. The same ideas delivered in English survive, monetize even, get platform deals, brand emails, smiles. Meanwhile, Korean gets erased like a clerical error. This is not about language quality, it is about jurisdiction of discomfort. English is treated as export content, foreign-facing, optional, something the platform can point to and say, look how open we are. Korean is domestic, internal, regulated by a different instinct. English can criticize as long as it sounds academic, ironic, or distant. Korean criticism sounds like it might actually land somewhere. That is unacceptable. English audiences are assumed to consume critique as entertainment. Koreans are assumed to internalize it. One is safe, the other is destabilizing. Platforms know this. They tune accordingly. The English algorithm rewards controversy if it drives engagement without cohesion. Debate is fine. Consensus is not. Korean language content that starts forming shared conclusions crosses an invisible line. Once viewers stop arguing and start agreeing, the risk profile changes. This is why the English channel can flirt with danger. It is sandboxed. It exists in a global noise field where nothing sticks for long. Korean content exists in a smaller, denser space. Fewer creators, faster spread, higher trust. That combination terrifies systems built on diffusion. People joke about being flagged. They imagine a human reviewer clutching pearls. That fantasy is comforting. The truth is colder. Statistical models notice when content shifts audience behavior. Not what people say, but how long they stay, how they comment, whether they return quieter but more focused. Silence after watching is the worst metric. It means thinking happened. So the Korean channel didn't die because it was loud. It died because it was efficient. It compressed too much meaning into too little time. It trained viewers faster than expected. That is not a violation. That is a liability. English survives because it leaks. It disperses. It turns critique into vibes. Korean doesn't leak as easily. It coagulates. Platforms hate coagulation. And here's the insult layered on top. When the Korean channel disappears, people assume guilt. When the English channel thrives, people assume legitimacy. Same creator, same spine, different language, different verdict. If you are watching this in English, understand the privilege built into your language. You get to hear uncomfortable truths framed as interesting content. Others hear the same truths framed as dangerous speech. This is why subscribing matters. It is not about growth. It is about anchoring. Likes tell the system this audience exists on purpose. Purchases tell it this channel is economically inconvenient to erase. Chapter 3 ends here. Chapter 4 will deal with automation, AI-generated accusations, and why machines are the perfect excuse for human cowardice. Chapter 4. It was the AI and other cowardly alibis. When platforms do not want to explain themselves, they hide behind automation. The phrase AI-generated has become the digital equivalent of shrugging while deleting years of someone's life. No intent, no accountability, just vibes and vapor. Let us be clear. Automation is not neutral. It is policy with plausible deniability. Humans decide what the machine is trained to fear. Humans decide which patterns count as spam, harm, or low quality. The machine just executes those anxieties at scale, faster than conscience can keep up. Calling something AI generated is especially convenient. It implies laziness, it implies theft, it implies mass production without soul. It lets platforms pretend they are defending creativity while actively punishing creators who learned how to work efficiently. Efficiency is only celebrated when corporations do it. When individuals do it, suddenly it is suspicious. Here is the quiet hypocrisy. Entire platforms are flooded with templated thumbnails, recycled scripts, identical voices, identical pacing. They survive because they reinforce consumption without comprehension. They are noise. Noise is safe. What gets flagged is not automation. It is compression. Content that packs too much signal into too little time. Content that makes viewers feel like they learned something faster than expected. Machines hate that because it breaks predictive models. Humans hate it because it reveals how little was ever required to see the pattern. So the accusation appears: low effort, reused, spam. None of these require proof. They are vibes-based enforcement, the platform equivalent of people are saying, and creators internalize it. They start slowing down, dumbing down, padding videos with verbal foam so the machine feels comfortable again. This is not quality control, this is behavioral conditioning. The most cynical part is that platforms are actively investing in AI tools for creators while punishing creators who master them independently. Use our tools, but only the way we like. Innovate, but not too quickly. Optimize, but not visibly. Be efficient, but look tired doing it. This is not about protecting audiences. Audiences adapted just fine. This is about protecting hierarchy. When one person with limited resources can rival institutional output, the illusion cracks. Machines become the excuse to reassert order. So no, the channel was not deleted because it was AI. It was deleted because it worked, because it reduced friction between thought and understanding, because it did not waste people's time, and that is the one unforgivable sin in an attention economy built on waste. If you are still here, understand what your actions signal. Subscribing tells the system this audience is intentional. Liking tells it engagement is not accidental. Buying the products linked below tells it this channel has economic gravity. That makes deletion expensive. Chapter 4 ends here. The final chapter explains why none of this is a mistake and why telling this story publicly is the only rational response. This was not a mistake. This was a warning shot. Let us retire the fantasy that this happened by accident. Systems do not accidentally repeat themselves this cleanly. Channels vanish, appeals evaporate, silence follows. Then the ecosystem keeps humming like nothing happened. That is not a bug. That is choreography. The deletion was not about rules. Rules are for show. This was about signaling boundaries. A quiet reminder that platforms own the ground, the air, and the exits. You are allowed to speak as long as your speech does not teach others how to listen differently. People underestimate how fragile these systems are. They look powerful because they are large. In reality, they are brittle. They rely on predictability, on users behaving like data points instead of nodes. When a channel starts turning viewers into nodes, connections form, meaning travels sideways instead of downward. That is when the system panics. So the response is surgical. No drama, no explanation, just removal. Clean enough that defenders can say, there must have been a reason. Vague enough that critics sound paranoid. Efficient enough that the lesson spreads without being spoken. And the lesson is simple. Build slowly. Speak softly. Never connect the dots too clearly. Never let your audience feel competent. Keep them dependent. Keep them scrolling. Keep them unsure. Telling this story publicly breaks that spell. Not because it will bring the channel back. It won't. Systems do not reverse to admit intent. It breaks the spell because it reframes the loss. This was not failure. This was proof of impact. Silence would have been compliance. Restarting quietly would have been submission. Explaining openly is the only move that preserves agency. If deletion is inevitable, then visibility becomes leverage. If erasure is the tool, then narrative is the counter. That is why this series exists. Not to beg, not to appeal, not to play victim, but to document the pattern while it is still fresh, while people still pretend this is random. If you are watching, understand your role. Subscription is not fandom, it is alignment. Likes are not flattery, they are signals. Purchases are not consumerism, they are infrastructure. They fund servers, tools, time, and independence. They keep this channel annoying enough to be noticed and expensive enough to hesitate over. The machine already made its move. This is the response.